Welcome to Bellevue High School, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Chris King, here with you for tonight's KingCo matchup between the Bellevue Wolverines and the Interlake Saints. Bellevue, the home team, comes into tonight's game with a 4-5 record in KingCo and 4-8 overall. Interlake 4-5 in conference and 6-5 overall. A quick look at our starters for tonight's game. First for Interlake, Kendall Davis, Carolyn Fordyce, Julia Regalia, Jackie Regalia, Margot Parker, and Danielle Nyman. For Bellevue, Katie Hallberg, Elise Bear Olu, Anna Stobengis, Lauren Patrick, Megan Bisson, and Ellen Young. Kelsey Burns is libero tonight for the Wolverines. Back to serve is Bear Olu as we get tonight's matchup started. The first point will go to the Wolverines. First meeting of this season between these two squads was back on September 11th, and one that Interlake was able to beat. Correction, that was back on September 18th as Interlake defeated Bellevue 3-0. Bear Olu, a deep serve. Wolverines up 1-0. Nyman sends it over in the backcourt. The Wolverines wearing pink tonight. Dig pink for cancer awareness, but that one falls in. Margot Parker with the kill. Diving, unable to come up with it. Ella Young for Bellevue. Locked up at one apiece, just getting things going here tonight. Interlake serving for the first time. The set goes to the middle. Coming in is Margot Parker. Bellevue returning it back over. These two squads, pretty even records this year. The ball ricochets off the hands of Kelsey Burns. And Interlake 2 straight points, up 2-1. Bellevue talking to Coach Mike Beckerman before the game, said they started out so solid, 3-0, but they've been improving throughout this season. Although the record doesn't necessarily reflect the last few games as much as they have improved as the serve goes out. Now 2-2, but Bellevue still 4-5 on the year, 4-8, looking for a strong finish to the season. Interlake, on the other hand, they're 4-5, 6-5 overall. The Saints moving up to 3A this year after spending the last few years at the 2A level, making the state championship the last 2 years of the state tournament, I should say. 3-2 as the serve goes into the net. Now serving for the Wolverines, Kelsey Burns, the sophomore back there. First touch by the libero, Kendall Davis. Ricochets off the hands of Bellevue of Lauren Patrick. And Interlake now with a 4-2 lead. That first game, Interlake won game 1 25-18, game 2 by the same score, and game 3 it was a back and forth affair, but the Saints able to pull out a 29-27 victory. Serving for Interlake, Danielle Nyman, the senior, sends it back, set up over on the far side, but too much on the serve for Ella Young, on the return. And the point goes to Interlake. Playing in this tough KingCo conference, as it seems to always be, but even this year, more tough. Bear Olu sends it over, diving, unable to keep it alive, is Carolyn Fordyce in Bellevue. Now a 5-3 game here, getting the point. Look at the 3A state rankings according to the Seattle Times, and two of the top 3 teams are in this KingCo 3A conference. Going out of bounds, and Carolyn Fordyce makes it 5-4, 2 straight points for the Wolverines. Mercer Island, top team in 3A, and then Mount Si, number 3 as well. So 2 of the best teams in the state here in the conference of these 2 squads. Serve goes into that from Katie Hallberg, the sophomore in her first year playing with the varsity squad. First game here tonight. Thanks for joining us at Bellevue High School. 6-4 our score. Interlake with the lead. Bear Olu sends it over. Trying to set it up right in the middle. Blocked at the net. Bellevue able to return it back. It heads out wide. And now Interlake with a 3-point lead. 7-4. There's 3 more games in the regular season after tonight for Bellevue, 4 more for Interlake. Both will have to face Mount Si, and Bellevue will have to face Mercer Island as well. Shot out of bounds by Bellevue, 8-4. The Saints leading. The serve from Davis. Hit by Olu, now sit over, change your pace. From the Wolverines from Ella Young. And they get the point back, break the run by Interlake. 8-5 Saints lead. Second meeting this year between these two squads. 3-0 the score. In that first matchup, sending it over, just barely getting over the net. Kendall Davis now in the middle. Megan Bisson comes in, and too much on it. Off the hand of Bisson, heads over into the far bleachers. And 8-6 the score. 2 straight points for the Wolverines. Junior Ellie Young leaves it short on the serve. And Interlake now back on top by 3. Checking out of the game for the Saints is Melissa Long. And Isabel Long coming in. Isabel Long, a nationally ranked tennis player. Talking to Coach Melissa Brodsky before the game, she said you could see it in her serve that certainly has that tennis background. No stranger to serving out there on the court. Fordyce's hit goes into the net. 9-7. Saints still with the lead, but Bellevue keeping it rather close. Biggest lead in this first game, 8-4 when the Saints had the lead. This and the senior serving. Goes to the back row. Taken by Davis. Olu sets up and just paints a bit of the floor, gets it in with the kill. And it's now a 1-point game, 9-8. In the first meeting between these two squads, Elise Olu had 5 kills in that game. One right there tonight. They're now looking to tie it up. A deep serve that sails out of bounds. At least now won't be the time of the tie. Back to a 2-point lead for Interlake. Stepping back in for the Wolverines, Kelsey Burns. As Megan Bisson comes in. At the net, Lauren Patrick has a set. Go right up to the net. And make it 2 straight points for the Saints, 11-8. Last 2 years, Interlake making it to the state tournament. Didn't place either time, lost their first 2 games, but still a heck of accomplishment when they were playing down at the 2A level. Olu once again off the tip of the hands. And another kill for her, 2-point game, 11-9. Game 1, thanks for joining us here tonight at Bellevue High School. Here on PlayOnSports.com. Thanks for joining us on the WIAA network. Up with the net, it's Davis who returns the shot. Plenty of time for Danielle Nyman. And the point goes to the Wolverines. Action up there at the net. Bellevue brings it within 1. Interlake 11, Bellevue 10. Lauren Patrick, a deep serve. Over on the near side, poked over by Nyman, and the officials all over it. The point will go to the Wolverines, and we are tied up at 11 apiece. This is our first tie since it was 2-2 here in the first game. Patrick once again serving. Fordyce has to drop down to her knees to get it. Sent back to the libero, Kelsey Burns. Far side, Olu. Little too much firepower on the shot, heads out. And Interlake takes back the lead by 1, 12-11. Margot Parker comes into the game. Jackie Regalia will serve, the junior. A good serve, blocked up at the net, and it's Margot Parker with the block at the net, though a very, very close play. Our correction. The point will go to Bellevue. And it's now 12-12 here in game 1. Fordyce. Back over to Bellevue, far side. Ella Young sneaks it in, and the Wolverines with their first lead since the early going of this first game. 13-12. Bellevue on top. Talking to Coach Mike Beckerman before the game, asked him what he remembered about that first meeting between these two. As the serve goes in for an ace. And now now 14-12 our score. An ace release Olu. And Mike Beckerman said he specifically remembers feeling like his team was flat in that game. But they had a flat game. So far looking sharp here, especially the roll they're on. Up by 2, 14-12. Interlake trying to get their rhythm back. Up at the net. The ball tipped back over to Interlake. Parker sends it deep. Off the hands of Burns. The rally stays alive. Fordyce's shot, does that fall in? No, it does not. Awful close. They're picking up a piece of the court. Instead, it's another point for the Wolverines. And make that 3 straight for them. 15-12 our score here. First time out of this first game. Wolverines leading the Saints. Reminder, Play On Sports is on Facebook and Twitter, giving you news and information and links to great highlights. Follow us at Play On Sports on both Facebook and Twitter. You can also access thousands of live and on-demand games on YouTube at youtube.com/PlayOnNetwork. Keep up with all the high school action every week from your destination for high school sports, PlayOnSports.com. Well, we thank you again for joining us here tonight. Chris King along with you at Bellevue High School. Lots and lots of great action on the WIAA network this year. And here we've got some KingCo volleyball for you. Wolverines up by 3 after the timeout. Interlake looking to regroup. Interlake at one point up by 4 in this first game, 8-4. They get it going after the timeout. Not on the first point. Make it a 4-point run. And 5 out of the last 6 have gone the way of the Wolverines, 16-12. Olu, the sophomore, seemed to be in a rhythm back there, but the serve heads out. And Interlake stops the run by the Wolverines. Coming out for Interlake is Isabel Long. Checking in is Melissa Long. Junior makes way for the sophomore. Ella Young puts it back off the hand of Kendall Davis. Young getting it done out there. Substitution for Bellevue. Coming out, Anna Stabingus. And checking into the game is Katie Hallberg. Hallberg sends it out of play, and now a 3-point game, 17-14. Bellevue with the lead. Again, the first time these two teams met, 3-0. Interlake won the first 2 games, 25-18. The last one very close. Ball goes into the net, point the way of the Wolverines. Danielle Nyman checks out. Fordyce comes back into the game. Hallberg serving a low line drive serve. That one barely got over the net. Bellevue puts it in the middle for Bisson. And it's out of bounds. Point for the Saints, 18-15. These two teams, of course, the goal always is to get to that state tournament this year, the 3A state tournament, being played in Lacey, a combination of St. Martin's University and Timberline High School in Lacey. For Interlake, goes off of the hands of Jamie Wagner. Wagner just a freshman, the only freshman between the two teams. So the freshman seen some action, 19-15 after the point for the Wolverines. Young serving, Fordyce. Her hit taken by Davis, far side. Olu. Interlake keeping the rally going. A decision by Hallberg to let it go, and it falls in. Isabel Long serving off the hands of Ella Young. And Interlake trying to mount a comeback here. Up by 4 at the start of this game. Then they were down by 3. Now trailing by 2. A deep serve. And it does the trick. Isabel Long with a hot hand for Interlake, and they have pulled it to within one here in the first game, 19-18. Olu sends it, and unable to dig it out is Kendall Davis, so the Wolverines get a point back. 20-18 here in game one of our match tonight here at Bellevue High School between the Bellevue Wolverines and the Interlake Saints. The senior Bisson, one of 4 seniors on the roster for the Wolverines, serving. Fordyce shot right into the arms of Katie Hallberg. Now it's Young, who has it go off her palm and into the net. Interlake 20, or excuse me, Bellevue 20, Interlake 19. Jamie Wagner checks out. Back in the game, Jackie Regalia. Fordyce on the serve. Olu flying in. Long on the return, blocked up at the net. Sabinga sends it back after the block. As the rally keeps going, Hallberg drops down, keeps her alive. Olu once more, as we've had our longest rally of the game, and it keeps going. And Interlake tie it up, blocked at the net, battled around, still alive. The Saints send it deep. And get the point. Credit Daniel Nyman right there. The most impressive rally and longest of the game ties it up at 20 apiece. So the Interlake fans, who of course didn't have very far to drive to get here to Bellevue High School, all fired up. We are tied at 20 apiece. Most of this game one has been controlled by Bellevue, though Interlake was in charge early. Looking at the KingCo 3A, 2A conference with both of these teams playing. Mercer Island, the #1 team in the state at the 3A level, 9-0 in conference, 12-0 overall. Right behind them, Mount Si. Mount Si 8-1 in the KingCo and 8-1 overall. Lake Washington 4-4 and 8-4 overall. Bellevue right behind them, 4-5 in conference, 4-8 overall. Interlake also 4-5 in conference, so some jockeying for position in the KingCo, and they are 6-5 overall. Behind them, Liberty, Juanita, and Sammamish. Tied at 20 apiece after the timeout. Olu at the net, unable to be returned. It was Jackie Regalia who had her hand on it, couldn't block it. And the Wolverines back with the lead, though a thin margin, as thin as it gets, 21-20. Interlake struggling to get it over. Olu far side, block, that will fall in. Julia Regalia and Jackie Regalia. Jackie the junior, Julia the sophomore. Getting it done on the far side, and now back to serve is the junior, Jackie. Serve barely kept alive by Bellevue, sent back over by Olu. Another long rally here, blocked at the net, but right there is Burns. Interlake trying to sneak it over, but Bellevue all over it, into the net. What's the call? And it will go against Bellevue point for Interlake, and they have their first lead since they were on top 12-11 here in game one. 10 points later for both teams, it's 22-21. Collected off the fingertips. Burns sprawls back the backcourt to get it. Jackie Regalia up in the middle. Parker, did it go off the hands of Bellevue? Yes, it did. It was tipped. And Interlake sneaking closer to a game one victory. 23-21. Just 2 points shy. Hallberg's shot, is it pancaked out? No, it's not. And the Wolverines keeping it very close. The last game these two teams played, of course, the match was won by Interlake. They won it 3-0, but the last game was 29-27 in game one. We see a repeat here of another razor-thin margin right there at the net with the kill and with authority for Bellevue, Ella Young. And now 2 straight for the Wolverines. Tied up at 23 apiece, game one. The sophomore, Olu. The serve near side, Nyman shot. This will be called beforehand, point for the Wolverines. And Interlake wants a timeout as they are on the brink of falling here in game one. Just a 1 minute timeout. Reminder, playonsports.com, not only your destination for Friday night football action, but also the place for the most comprehensive coverage of high school playoff and championship events and all sports from across the country. Playonsports.com, high school sports lives here. Well, with our camera, the way it's set up, you see that far side of the bleachers, and there's no one over there, but on our near side, we have a nice crowd here tonight at Bellevue High School. Thanks for joining us here on the WIAA network. 24-23, Bellevue 1 point away from taking game one of this match. Elise Olu serving for the Wolverines. Regalia over near side. Does it go in? It heads out. And that will be the game for Bellevue. They eke out the game one victory, 25-23. We'll take a timeout as we head to game two. You're watching the Bellevue Wolverines and the Interlake Saints on playonsports.com. Welcome back to Bellevue High School. Chris King along with you tonight. Game one in the books. Now ready for game two between the Bellevue Wolverines and the Interlake Saints. Game one went the way of Bellevue, 25-23. They just eked it out. It was a 22-21 advantage for Interlake after they trailed for most of the first game. But Bellevue came roaring back and ended up scoring 4 of the last 5 points to take game one. So they were shut out 3-0 by Interlake the first time around. So that was the first game that Bellevue's been able to win this year against Interlake. Like to keep it going, Interlake will try to get back to the way things were in the first meeting between these two squads. Fordyce sends it over, does it fall in? It does. Find just a sliver of real estate. And Interlake strikes first here in game 2. Serving for Interlake, Julie Regalia, the sophomore, out of bounds on her serve. And it's back to a 1-1 game. Talking to Coach Melissa Brodsky beforehand for Interlake. Brought up the fact that they've made the state tournament the last 2 years at the 2A level, but a transition that's not easy moving into 3A. Not only that, but a level that includes 2 of the top 3 teams in the 3A classification in Mercer Island. And now Cy said it's more competition. Things get tough when you battle for a playoff spot between the KingCo and the Metro. There's 6 spots to go to the state tournament, but the Metro Conference, no slouches either. 2-1, Bellevue getting that last point. Olu sending it back, chasing it down. Kelsey Burns keeps it alive, and a wise decision by Interlake and Melissa Long. That was a close one. Oh, it hit the hardwood, and it was the right decision. It's out of play, and it's a 2-2 game. Daniel Nyman serving. Young, right back in the hands of Kendall Davis. The libero for Interlake. At the net, tipped over. Yeah, but here's Melissa Long. Olu back up closer to the net to change the pace over. Another long rally here. Coming in, smacking up the block, goes out of bounds. And credit Ella Young for getting it done for the Wolverines. Nyman will check out for Interlake. Coming in is Jamie Wagner. And Alex Zastro, a 3-year varsity player, will see her first action of the game. Kelsey Burns heading over to the bench for Bellevue. 3-2, Wolverines up 1-0 and up by a point. But Interlake, it's a block at the net, courtesy of Melissa Long. And it's back to a 3-3 score. Libero Davis, a junior. Serving Hallberg, sneaking in, but miscalculated where it would fall. And into the net. Interlake 4, Bellevue 3. 1-0. Bellevue taking the first game 25-23. If you're just joining us, thanks for being with us tonight here on the WIAA Network. Olu with a kill. Finding a seam there and putting it in. And if the first game and the start of the second game is any indication, we're in for a close one here tonight. Hallberg mishandles the serve into the net. And Bellevue with the 1-point advantage, 5-4. Long heads out. Melissa Long, I should say. Isabel Long comes in. Deep serve. 2 high hits. Patrick over, and Ella Young sends it out of bounds, 6-4. Interlake on top. Isabel Long, the junior. Serving, Long. Puts it back over, set up in the middle, and it's off the hands of Jamie Wagner. Alex Zastro, the senior, securing the point for Bellevue. Back to a 1-point lead for Interlake, 6-5. Serve heads out of bounds. Interlake 7, Bellevue 5. Game 2, Bellevue winning game 1, 25-23. Fordyce with the serve, some miscommunication between Ella Young and her libero, Kelsey Burns, as to who would get it. And Interlake continues to add on to that lead, but 8-5 here, Interlake leads. If you look back at game 1, Interlake led 8-4. And basically from that point on is when Bellevue took control. Diving out to the ball. Bellevue keeps the rally going. In the middle, blocked up at the net, back into the hands of Jackie Regalia. Zastro puts it over with the kill. Zastro will come out. Not much on the return from Interlake, and 2 quick points picked up by Bellevue. So this could follow the same script as game 1 after trailing at this point and going on a run themselves. Down by 1, 8-7. Our side, Nyman mishandles it. And just in the blink of an eye, the Wolverines rattle off 3 points. Up 1-0, an 8-8 tie in game 2. Burns a low serve, too tough to handle for Isabel Long. And make it 4 points in a row. Bellevue now back with the lead. The sophomore Burns again. Puts forward ice backpedaling in the middle. Regalia has it blocked at the net, and the momentum squarely in the corner of the Wolverines right now. Anna Stabingus getting it done there right at the net. Wolverines up by 2. Good block, sends Bellevue back scrambling. Nyman far side, deflected. Digging it out for the Wolverines is Pedra. And the return sails out of play. 6 straight points, a 6-0 run for Bellevue. They're up 1-0 here in game 2. The serve goes out off the hands for Interlake of Isabel Long. And Coach Melissa Brodsky wants a timeout. 12-8 our score. Bellevue has scored 7 unanswered points right now. They were down 8-5, now up 12-8. Do you want to watch more of your school's great matchups like the game you are enjoying here tonight? Tell your school to sign up for the Play On Sports School Broadcast Program. The program allows schools to broadcast all their games and other activities on the web. For more information, go to playonsports.com/SBP. Chris King here with you tonight for some volleyball action here on the WIAA network. Bellevue capturing the first game, 25-23. Here we are in game 2 at Bellevue High School. Wolverines have scored 7 straight points. They're up 12-8. Hallberg back to the middle. Stabingus sends it out of play, and that 7-0 run finally comes to an end. And Interlake going a run of their own. Pedra keeps it going. A joust at the net, and Margot Parker comes out on top. 2 straight points for Interlake, so the timeout well timed, and the Saints responding after it. 12-10, Wolverines up. Olu has a dugout. Jackie Regalia diving. Pedra keeps it alive. Another block at the net. Pedra down on the court again. She's all over the place and in the middle for Bellevue. Anna Stabingus answers back. Good matchup. The net right now between Stabingus and Margot Parker. Lauren Patrick, the junior. Serves for Bellevue. Nyman far side, blocked at the net. And Burns keeps the rally sustained. In the middle, Margot Parker with time, finds a piece of real estate. Pedra does her best to dive for it. But Margot Parker, a savvy move. And gets the point. 13-11, Saints down by 2 to the Wolverines. Deep serve and a wise decision by Kelsey Burns to let it fall. Goes out of bounds. Bellevue 14, Interlake 11. 2. Bellevue up 1 game to none. As both teams exchange serves that head out. 14-12. 25-23. Interlake had a 22-21 lead. And both teams here struggling a bit to get their serves in, make that 3 in a row. 2 for Interlake, 1 for Bellevue. Wolverines up 15-12. Sabingus serve deflects off the hand of Kendall Davis. The exact angle that you'd like. But Interlake returns it back over to the Wolverines. Change up from Ella Young. Far side, here's Hallberg, deflected. And the last hope was Jamie Wagner. She couldn't deflect it. And a point for Bellevue. That ties their biggest lead of this second game. They did lead 12-8 after that 7-0 run. You're up 16-12. Margot Parker in the middle. Krista Bingus, who is serving. Olu diving and over the outstretched arm of Melissa Long. Could see the frustration, and it just went past her attempt to get it. Biggest lead of the game now for Bellevue, 17-12. They're up 1 game to nothing on Interlake. Here the hammer blocked down by Ella Young. A convincing kill, and make it 18-12. Interlake won the first matchup on September 18th, 3-0 over Bellevue. Much closer here. Battle up at the net, deflected off the left hand of Lauren Patrick. Fordyce, is it in, is it out? It is out of bounds by Fordyce, really straddling the line. And it goes out of play, now a 7-point lead. So again, the largest lead of the second game. 19-12. Stabingus a low serve, and it's an ace. That ball seemed to sink. It fooled everyone, including Kendall Davis. And now the Wolverines have opened up an 8-point lead. 20-12. They're up 1 game to nothing. Thanks again for joining us here tonight on PlayOnSports.com. Don't forget Play On Sports on Facebook and Twitter, giving you news and information to links of great highlights. Follow us at Play On Sports on both Facebook and Twitter. You can also access thousands of live and on-demand games on YouTube at youtube.com/PlayOnNetwork. Keep up with all the high school action every week from your destination for high school sports, PlayOnSports.com. And I know there's lots of great action, a lot of great football games at Play On Sports, bringing you this fall on the WIAA network, and one that is coming up tomorrow, which will be brought to you live and will also be archived on the WIAA network website, is that Bellevue Mount Si football game. A serve as we get back to action here. An ace for Hannah Stabingus. And Bellevue trailed at one point, 8-5 in this second game. They're up 1 game to nothing. Went on a 7-0 run. And here they are cruising on a 6-0 run at the moment. Margot Parker puts it back. Stabingus deflects it off her hands. Would have been interesting if that one just would have been let go, whether or not would have gone in or not. Certainly hindsight's 2020. That's not even for sure if it would have gone in. But the 6-0 run comes to a close. Not bad for Bellevue. A 7-0 run and a 6-0 run here in this second game. Blocked at the net. Does it fall in? No, it does not. You could tell even before the signal was shown by the expression on Daniel Nyman's face. She saw it first as it went out. 22-13. Wolverines on top. Tricky serve from Hallberg. Fordyce far side. And the Wolverines can't return it. Point for the Saints. Both these teams, the exact same record in the KingCo Conference. Both 4 and 5, searching to get to 500. 22-14, Fordyce backpedaling. In the middle is Julia Regalia, and it is smacked out of bounds And it's a point for Bellevue, now just 2 points away. Game one, they won 25-23. They scored 5 of the last 6 points. Julia Pedra checks into the game to serve. She'll take the spot of Ellie Young. Pedra, just a sophomore. 9-point advantage for Bellevue. Burns in the middle, over to Olu. Here's Fordyce. Digging it out is Burns, another long rally going. Pedra sends it back deep. In the middle, a change up. And Hallberg's diving stop keeps the rally alive. One of the longest rallies of this second game. Interlake looking for some momentum, trailing by 9. Bellevue just 2 points away from the win. Olu has the shot go in. Off of the hands of Jackie and Julia Regalia, both up there. And now it is game point for Bellevue. 24-14, up 1 game to nothing here in the second game. Pedra on the serve. Far side. Melina Boyd in the game for the first time for Interlake. Set up in the middle for Zastro, but Boyd is there. Goes off the top of the net, finds its way over. Olu sends it over, a diving dig. Kendall Davis keeps it going. Back-to-back solid rallies here. One more time, Olu. With the change of pace, it falls in for the kill, and the Wolverines take game 2 in convincing fashion. Bellevue wins it 25-14, and the Wolverines up 2 games to nothing on Interlake. We'll take a timeout. You're watching the Bellevue Wolverines and the Interlake Saints here on PlayOnSports.com. Welcome back to Bellevue High School. Chris King joining you tonight for our matchup between the Bellevue Wolverines and the Interlake Saints. Bellevue up 2 games to nothing, winning game 1 25-23, and in a much more convincing fashion in game 2, getting the victory 25-14. So Bellevue really controlled it, well, you'd say the whole way, but in both games, Interlake started off a bit hotter than Bellevue. In game 1, Interlake was up 8-4. And then Bellevue was able to go on a run. And then in game 2. Very similar, 8-5 was the score. And we even mentioned it at the time in the middle of the game that it was a similar setup to game 1. And then at that point, the Wolverines were able to roll off a 7-0 run. The serve from Elise Olu goes out of bounds, and Interlake strikes first. In all 3 games now, they've been the first team to score. Back to serve is Shruti Patel. Shruti Patel coming up to varsity for this game. Young on the far side. Fordyce just barely gets it over the net. Good block by Parker. And Young one more time will uncork, and it is in. Boy, I feel for Ella Young when she just painted the line that time. You could see the enthusiasm from Mike Beckerman, the coach for the Wolverines. Anna Stavingas puts the serve out of bounds, 2-1 Interlake. So Bellevue was swept in the first meeting between these two teams. Could Bellevue turn the tables and do the same? Off the hands of Shruti Patel, out of bounds. Now a 2-2 tie. Melina Boyd comes back in. Daniel Nyman checks out for Interlake. Bellevue. For cancer awareness, wearing the pink tops. Even a poster here that says Dig Pink. Melina Boyd couldn't handle the serve. Wolverines take their first lead of game number 3. Bellevue 3, Interlake 2. Both these teams the same conference record in the KingCo Conference. Both 4-5. A lot on the line here. After tonight, 3 more conference games for Bellevue, 4 more. For Interlake. Point for the Wolverines, 4-2, and Bellevue still has an outside Mercer Island to go with. Mercer Island, the #1 team in 3A in the state. Mount Si not far behind him at 3. Fordyce has it deflect off the net and fall in. Margot Parker will check out. Talking to Melissa Brodsky before the game, the coach for the Saints, she said the main sport for Margot Parker is basketball. Slouch is a volleyball player as well, and what's the call? There seems to be a little bit of indecision on whether or not that was in, and they ruled that it was in. So the official there didn't quite have the most confident look on his face when he made the call. And even right there, Melina Boyd was a bit surprised when it was called in. Julia Pedera, the sophomore, back serving. Digging it out, going on a full-on sprawl is Boyd. Back to the net, Pedera. Now over to the far side, Olu blocked at the net. Zastro back over to Interlake side, in the middle. It's Jackie Regalia diving back. Olu, a good effort, but it's out of play. Point for Interlake. And it's back to a 1-point game, 5-4. Bellevue up 2 games to nothing. Game 3. Thanks for joining us here tonight on the WIAA network. A high set. Almost running into each other. There's Fordyce and Boyd, but that didn't bother them. Right into the hands of the libero Davis, but it gets deflected out, 6-4. Davis stood like a statue there, as that one came in like a missile ladder. Libero Kelsey Burns sends it over, a low line drive serve. Bellevue, time to respond here in a good setup. Out of bounds off the hand of Jackie Regalia. And it's Bellevue 7, Interlake 4. Coming up, looking at the upcoming dates. The regular season will end on the 23rd. And then, starting October 26th and 27th, the KingCo Championships, the Sea King Districts, when the districts take place to battle for those state tournament berths. That will be November 2nd and 3rd, and the state tournament begins on November 9th. 7-5 Wolverines leading the Saints. Neiman sends it back and it falls in. Burns did her best to make it to her right. But Neiman, the sharp shot falls in, a 1-point game. A little bit different than the first two games when Interlake was up early. Here Bellevue on top by a point. Change of pace. And Bellevue sets it up, deflected back, and pinballing and finally falling. At least Olu. He's been all over the place tonight for Bellevue. Trying to respond back after losing 3-0 in the first meeting. Being shut out by Interlake back on September 18th. 8-6, Wolverines on top. Federer sends it back deep. Does it fall in? Ooh, just misses. Wise decision by Interlake to let it go out. Bit of a gamble there, but it paid off. And they trail by 1. Jackie Regalia serving for the Saints. Hallberg comes flying in. Nyman puts it back. Nyman once more at the net. And a point will go to Interlake. An 8-8 tie in game 2. Bellevue won 25-14, up 2 games to nothing. They had a 7-0 run and then a 6-0 run. A very streaky second game. Serve out of bounds, and the Wolverines back with the lead just by 1. Federer checks out. Ella Young comes back in. Olu serving. And back, and unable to chase it down for Bellevue, Lauren Patrick. And it's even at 9 apiece. Melissa Long comes in. As Isabel Long, the older of the two Longs, steps out. Ruthie Patel barely gets it in, but a deceivingly good serve. Here's Bellevue scrambling. Tie game. Interlake hasn't led since scoring the first point of this third game. Patel at the net, has it blocked. And a point will go to the Wolverines. Stavenga's serve lost the handle of it. Catching Katie Hallberg by surprise. Goes flying right by her head. So another tie as these two teams neck and neck here. Game 3, Bellevue up 2 games to nothing on Interlake. Parko comes flying in, Margot Parker. And Parker with the kill. Puts Interlake on top by 1. In the first meeting, Interlake won the first 2 games, 25-18. And the last one was awful close, 29-27, but they took it. Olu sends it into the net. And make it 3 points in a row for Interlake, and that's enough to have Coach Mike Beckerman for Bellevue call a timeout. 2-0. Bellevue taking the first 2 games here in Game 3. Interlake leading 12-10. Reminder, playonsports.com, not only your destination for Friday night football action, but also the place for the most comprehensive coverage of high school playoff and championship events in all sports from across the country. Playonsports.com, high school sports lives here. And we thank you for joining us here tonight, live from Bellevue High School. Chris King along with you. A 12-10 lead in game number 3 for Interlake, but we saw Bellevue trail in the first 2 games were able to rally back and win both. Here can Interlake find their footing and take their first game of the match? We'll see. Nyman serve goes back deep. Hallberg struggles with it. And the timeout, at least for the moment, doesn't stop the momentum of the Saints. Make it 4 in a row for them. So we've seen the Wolverines be streaky. Nyman another deep serve. Right at the net. Blocked by Young. The Interlake coaches thought she had touched the net beforehand. Hallberg flies in, bounces around, and what's the call? It is out. The Wolverines able to stop the run of Interlake. Nyman out, and Melina Boyd back in. Katie Hallberg, a sophomore. A lot of sophomores on this Bellevue squad. Tough to handle. Fordyce flying in. Fordyce, along with Kendall Davis, the two captains for Interlake. 2 straight points for Bellevue. Deep serve. And the captain, Kendall Davis, who's a junior, lets it go out. And a wise move. Patrick comes in, her shot right at the net. And we have a whistle. The point will go to Interlake. Interlake 15, Bellevue 12, game 3. A high, deep serve, and it kept sailing. As a sheepish look on her face, Kendall Davis looked over at her coaches and said sorry. Ella Young checks out. Julia Pedera comes in. Moved up last year to varsity as a freshman. Here she is, a full-time varsity member as a sophomore. At the net, deflected around. Blocked again, and might not have been the prettiest, but it works for Alex Zastro and the Wolverines, and they pull it to within 1. 15-14 Interlake. Pedra serving. Boyd, a hard hit. Does it go in? Good decision by Boyd, and even better execution. Melina Boyd, the sophomore, securing the point for Interlake. Here it is from Isabel Long. Thought for a moment it wouldn't get over. Blocked at the net, but goes out of bounds. A kill for Elise Erbarolu, who has been the most probably active player for Bellevue, maybe the most active player in this game. Back to a 1-point lead for Interlake. 16-15. Fordyce back to Hallberg, a bit tricky for her. In the middle, Pedera clears it back over to the Interlake side. Here's Long, a deep shot, and it goes in. Between Boyd and that last shot there by Long. Some real close ones for Interlake that they've had the right touch on to get to fall. Interlake 17, Bellevue 15. Game 3, Bellevue leading 2 games to nothing. Patrick right at the net. Pedera backpedaling, keeps it alive. Here's Burns, into the hands of Davis. Near side, Nyman puts it out. You can tell right away, he took too big of a swing at it. And this third game, what could be the third and final game if Bellevue wins it, has been neck and neck. They go from one extreme to another. Interlake defeated Bellevue 3 games to nothing the first time. Bellevue trying to flip things around and do the same to Interlake here in the second meeting. Patrick near side, Hallberg, Fordyce. Sticks her hands out and grabs it. Up by Patrick again in the middle of the court. It's Burns. Set up by Patel. Erbarolu back to Long. A 1-point game. Longest rally we've had here in the third game. Barbarolo again. Davis. Barbarolo digs it out at the net, and it is a point for Interlake. Just barely heads out. One of those rallies you hate to see a team lose because it was just so good by both squads. A long, sustained rally. Interlake leading 18-16. Hallberg comes in, too much on it, goes back off the wall. And a kill for Hallberg. It's back to a 1-point game. Ella Young checks in. Julia Petera comes out. Bellevue has been more streaky in this game and in more of a good way. Put on runs at the end of game 1, scoring 5 out of the last 6 points, and in game 2, going on a 7-0 and a 6-0 run. Young takes a little speed off it, and struggling with it is Stobingus at the net. A point for Interlake. Isabel Long comes out of the game. Pattel's serving. Young high up at the net. Nyman comes down. Young smashes it down for the kill. Ellie Thompson will come in. This will be her first appearance of the game. This is her first high school varsity match. So Ellie Thompson being thrown into the fire here. A close one. Her team trailing by 1 in game 3. And her varsity debut. Little miscommunication for her where she should be on the court. Barbarolo sends it up. Hallberg forces Davis to dig it out. A ball deflected, and Interlake will get the point. So just a quick debut as Ellie Thompson comes out. Nyman serving. Hallberg over. Barbarolo, who calls everyone off. Charging in. Is it in or out? It is out. Carolyn Fordyce softly close, but can't get it in. Interlake has had the lead most of this third game, though not by much. Bellevue up 2 games to nothing. Interlake leading 20-19 here in game 3. In the middle. Goes back to Boyd. At the net, a bit of a tricky shot. Interlake sends it back over. Far side. Young fires it off. The net falls in. And we are locked up at a 20-20 tie. A nail biter here in game 3. Bellevue trying to put it away early. Interlake trying to battle back. And that is definitely good news for Bellevue. An ace for Katie Hallberg. And the Wolverines have their first lead in a long time. They're up 21-20 here. The last time Bellevue had a lead, they were up by a score of 11-10. Bellevue up 2 games to nothing. Again, if you want to watch more of your high school's great matchups, like the game you're enjoying here tonight, tell your school to sign up for the Play On Sports School Broadcast Program. The program allows schools to broadcast all their games and other activities on the web. For more information, go to playonsports.com/SBP. Game number 3, the Wolverines taking the lead 21-20. Hallberg after the ace and after the timeout, ready to go. The serve denied by the top of the net. And you win some and you lose some. So you go from the ace to not being able to get it over. 21-20. Kendall Davis serving. Gets it to her fellow libero, Kelsey Burns. Ella Young goes off some pretty good jump there. Gets high up in the air. Barbarolo goes down, comes back to her. Clears it back over to the Interlake side. The ball taken off it on the hand of Regalia. Sent right back over. The shot goes long. And Bellevue back in the lead. Game 3. The first time these two teams met this year on September 18th. Well, it went long. Interlake won it 29-27. Coach Beckerman said Bellevue came out flat in that first game, and here they are 2 points away from winning it and flipping the script on Interlake. Petter is serving. A tricky serve, Fordyce. A nice job to keep it alive. Davis shovels it over. 2-point lead for the Wolverines. Berber Olu hits it out of bounds. And it's now 23-22. Wolverines the 1-point advantage on the Saints. Melissa Long comes out. Isabel Long back in and ready to serve. A deep serve went off the fingertips of Julia Patera. And an exciting finish for whichever team will win this one here in Game 3. Tied at 23 apiece, and timeout is called by Bellevue. Again, to recap the action here so far, Bellevue won Game 1 25-23. The Wolverines scored 5 of the last 6 points in that first game. And Game 2, a much more decisive victory for the Wolverines. 25-14 the score. They went on a 7-0 run and a 6-0 run. And here in Game 3, they're much more consistent from both squads. They have just been neck and neck with each other. 23 apiece. Isabel Long with the serve, and it is in. An ace for Isabel Long. And for the Saints, they did not ask for a more crucial time to get that ace. Another ace here. And they push this to a 4th game. The serve, too much on it. It heads out, now 24-24. We'll see Hannah Stabingus come in and Ellie Thompson check out. Sophomore Kelsey Burns, just barely getting in on the far side. Here's Fordyce, deflected back. Can Hallberg keep it alive? And it will not be able to make its way over off the hands of Lauren Patrick. And it is game point for the Saints. Their senior captain Carolyn Fordyce serving. Interlake looking for their first game of the night. Trying to stave off the loss as well. Berberoli gets the kill. And it's 25-25. Junior Lauren Patrick from the middle of the court. A high, deep serve. 25 apiece. They're not for long. Interlake strikes almost immediately. Jackie Regalia. And for the second time, it is game point for Interlake. Bellevue with their backs against the wall. Patrick gets it to Hallberg. Shuffles it over. Nyman comes in. There Burns over to Bear Olu. Parker moves out of the way. Kept alive. And here is Pedra. Clears it to the Interlake side. Margot Parker in the middle. Pedra with the dig. Bear Olu gets it back. A good rally here. And it's all on the line for Bellevue and Interlake. And there it is. Interlake wins game number 3, 27. back to Bellevue High School as we are ready to start the fourth game in tonight's matchup between Bellevue and Interlake. Bellevue up 2 games to 1, but Bellevue right there on the cusp of making just a 3-game match. But Interlake able to fight back and win the third game 27-25. If you're just joining us, game 1 went to Bellevue, 25-23 the final. Game 2, really the only convincing game we've had, as Bellevue won that one 25-14. Interlake battling back and winning 27-25. A top serve to return for the Wolverines. Probably had a whistle there. Play is blown dead. And the point will go to Bellevue. Confusion. The whistle wasn't an overpowering whistle by any means. So Bellevue for the first time tonight gets the first point of the game. Fordyce backpedaling on the serve from where they're over. One hands it, sends a pass. For the coaches on the bench for the Wolverines. And it's a point for Interlake. Bellevue had the 21-20 lead in game 3. But Interlake able to eke it out. They're having 2 game point opportunities. Here's Fordyce. Off the hands of Alberg. Into Vegas. That kill for Fordyce. Both teams 4 and 5 in the KingCo conference, and a tough one, as we mentioned. Mercer Island, the top team in 3A. 9-0 in conference play, 12-0 overall, not far behind them outside as it goes in off the hands of Ella Young. 2-2 tie in game 4. Outside with only 1 loss, and that loss coming to none other than Mercer Island. They're ranked 3 in 3A. Prairie is ranked number 2. And Seattle Prep out of the Metro Conference, which is who the KingCo Conference meets up with to determine what teams will make it to the state tournament. Seattle Prep in the division by Margot Parker. No one was over on that near side, close to the net. And Parker with a savvy kill. Well, Davis, low line drive. A piece of cake right in the middle for Jackie Regalio. That one came floating right there. Big steak dinner right down the middle. He couldn't ask for much more than that. This game, this match, I should say, has been about momentum. Bellevue had it in game 1 at the end, and game 2 overall. And Interlake, on a very close one, was able to get it at the end. In game 3, here we are in game 4. Good action up at the net. And it falls short on the Bellevue side. Interlake, fiery start here in game 4, 5-2 their lead. The first 2 games, Interlake had early leads that were erased by the Wolverines. Ella Young here, digging it out. Melina Boyd. Davis firing it. And falls in. Alex Castro picks up the kill, and now a 2-point deficit for Bellevue. Interlake leading 5-3. Bellevue coming off a loss to Juanita. Juanita 3-7. The KingCo Conference, so worse record than the Wolverines. Trying to answer back after that tough loss. It's judged at the net by Ella Young. 3-point lead for the Saints. 2 games to 1. Bellevue leads. On the other hand, Interlake was defeated by Mercer Island. 3 games to none. But again, Mercer Island, number 1 team in the state at the 3A level. Close to whether or not it will fall in. And it is out. Mike Beckerman, the coach of the Wolverines, was looking down the line. He might have thought it would in. They'll be down by 4 here. But down to the middle. the score. So a similar score we saw in Game 1 when Interlake led, and in Game 2 it was 8-5. From that point on, Bellevue rattled off a 7-0 run. Isabel's long serve into the net, and it's 8-4. Julia comes in. It's a running start with her serve. Davis trying to find her footing. She gets it. Regalia. A fastball goes back. And it's returned by the Wolverines. 4-point game. Here's Fordyce. Into the hands of Libero Burns. Near side. Libero was waiting for it, but a double hit. And 9-4. Saints on top. Elena Boyd checks out. Danielle Nyman comes in. And Bellevue will call a timeout. Their first here in game number 4. Bellevue leads 2-1. Chris King joining you here tonight at Bellevue High School. Thanks for joining us for some volleyball action here on the WIAA network. Brought to you by Play On Sports. Reminder, follow Play On Sports on Facebook and Twitter, giving you news and information and links to great highlights. Follow us to Play On Sports on both Facebook and Twitter. You can access thousands of live and on-demand games on YouTube at youtube.com/PlayOnNetwork. Keep up with all the high school action every week. Your destination for high school sports. PlayOnSports.com. Bellevue looking to stop the run that Interlake has been on. And you look at the end of game number 3 and the start of game 4 here. 9-4 the score. Fordyce to Hallberg. Now with Patrick. Near side. They're over with the kill. Off the left hand of Isabel Long. First game between these two teams. First match, I should say, back on September 18th. 3-0. Interlake shut out Bellevue. Bellevue had a chance to shut them out before. The pancake attempt. There's no good from Kendall Davis. 9-6 now. Bellevue was up 2-0, up 21-20 in the third game, but Interlake won it. Now lead by 3 in game 4. Locked in the net. Here's Jalen Olu. Regalia tries to sneak it over. Patrick in the middle. Stavingas, near side. Here's Patel for Interlake. Near side, Nyman. A laser beam, but return at the net. We'll have a double hit call before this. Saints get the point. 10-6, they lead. Margot Parker comes in. Kendall Davis steps out. Davis to Nyman. And the point will go the way of Bellevue. They got it to within 3. The largest lead that Interlake has had here in the fourth game was 5 when they were leading 9-4. Patrick, a boom shot of the serve. Took a diving effort. He'll send it back over. Patel to Nyman. Blocked at the net. And they blow the whistle. The point will go to Bellevue. Credit Stavingas and Hallberg for getting that point for the Wolverines. Interlake 10, Bellevue 8. Bellevue leading 2-1. Here we are in game number 4. Serve mishandled by Lauren Patrick. Ruthie Patel serving. Patel just being added to the roster for Interlake. Hallberg misjudges it, sends it short. And the lead back to 4. Here Patel with the serve in the middle. Patel back, hit the net. Right at Katie Hallberg. Allie Young back in. Julia Pepera comes out. Thanks for joining us here tonight at Bellevue High School. KingCo volleyball matchup. These two 3A squads, both 4 and 5 coming into this game. And it has been an even affair so far. They give the edge to Bellevue, leading 2 games to 1. But Interlake, a 2-point lead here in game 4. Olu skims over the net with the serve. Returned by Interlake in the middle. Diamond comes in. Patel, a little confusion. And Parker's shot flies over. Good instinct, reading it. And secures the kill. And the lead whittled down to 1 for the Saints. Sophomore, the top outside hitter for Bellevue serving. As the long shot goes back. Bellevue mishandles it. Point for the Saints, 13-11. 2-point lead Interlake. Margot Parker getting a chance to tee up. Fisted over by Lauren Patrick, but it does the trick. The shot off the fingers and falls in. 2 straight points for Interlake, and after the lead was cut down to 1. Interlake comes roaring back with 2 points, 14-11. Diamond goes into the net with her shot. Interlake 14, Bellevue 12. Bellevue leading 2 games to 1 here in the 4th game. Diamond checks out, Melina Boyd back in. Deep serve, and an ace. Kendall Davis and Melina Boyd misjudging it. And an ace for Allie Young. Wolverines trying to split the season series after losing back on September 18th. Excellent touch by Margot Parker. A kill for her and a 2-point lead for her Saints. 15-13. Davis a low line drive serve. Burns has it go over to the left. Now back to the middle. Clears it back to Interlake. It's a long. Has it denied at the net. Bellevue once again brings it within 1. Bellevue have a 1-0 lead, but since then Interlake has had a lead. They've led by 5, 9-4 in this 4th game. Almost a 1-point lead again. Last time it was like that. Interlake scored 2 straight. Dug out by Davis. Good athletic move. Bellevue will try to look to do it again. Boyd puts her hand on it. Patel chases after it. Goes off the backboard of the basketball rim. Up high, and the rally keeps going. Here's Fordyce, and it is out. Ooh, just barely. I'd say that's the best rally we've seen here in the 4th game. The longest. And the point goes to Bellevue, and it is a tie game, 15 apiece. Smack down, Boyd digs it out. Boyd will go for the Wolverines. Alex Astro looked like she was destined for a kill there. The point does go the way of the Wolverines, but not on that shot. Up by 1, moving back once along. Olu gets it over to the side of Interlake, at the net. Tough to tell who had it. It was either Allie Young or Alex Astro, the 2 combining. There, 2 of the tallest players. Young 6'1", Astro 5'11", along with Hallberg and Stubingus, both 5'11". And they get the point, the block for Bellevue, 17-15. The Wolverines lead. game 25-14. And Interlake battled back to take game 3, 27-25. After the Interlake timeouts, Bellevue looking to keep it going. Interlake trying to stop this Wolverine run. Cornelia has her shot dug out of the net by Hallberg. And it can't be returned by Interlake. So here's a run for the Wolverines. They've scored 5 in a row. In game 2, their last game victory, we saw them go on a 6-0 run and a 7-0 run. Does it go in? Yes, it does. Out of the reach of Kelsey Burns, who did her best to chase it down. So make it a 5-0 run. Bellevue 18, Interlake 16. Here we are, game 4. Bellevue leading 2 games to 1. A difficult serve. Hallberg returns it. After that, Patel sticks it back over. Castro with some time to wind up, but Interlake recovers. Off the fingertips, goes back to Burns. Here's Young with a chance, falls in. And the diving attempt by Fordyce comes up empty. A 3-point lead, tying the most for Bellevue in this 4th game. Julia Petra, a difficult serve. Olu, a tough shot for Isabel Long, but she gets it back wide at the net. Another long rally developing here. Here's Fordyce, left-hand shot, diving. And Fordyce sneaks it in for the kill. And the boy checks out, squats with Danielle Nyman. Fordyce, the senior captain for Interlake serving. 1917 Bellevue leads. After the block by Regalia, it heads out. It's back to a 1-point game. As far as an even matchup goes, you couldn't ask for much more between these two. After going to that 2-0 lead, 2 games to nothing. Interlake taking game 3. And keeping things neck and neck here in game 4. Serve out of bounds. Wolverines a 2-point advantage, 20-18. Burns serving. First touch by her fellow libero, Kendall Davis. The Wolverines can't return it back to a 1-point game. Largest Bellevue lead in game 4-3. And they were up 19-16. A 5-point lead for Interlake early on. Off the hand of Shruti Patel. Flying in behind her. Isabel Long couldn't get it back. Warren Patrick steps out. Emily Bray comes in. The sophomore seeing her first action. Bray serving right now. 21-19 Wolverines. Patel to Nyman. Blocked at the net. Late reaction, but Parker keeps it alive. And miscommunication by Bellevue. Boy, one of those shots you can kind of see developing from a mile away as no one went after it. Point for Interlake. And will Interlake be able to come back and send this to a 5th and deciding game? Or can Bellevue hold off the Saints here in game 4? Wolverines leading 2 games to 1, 21-20. Bellevue on top of Interlake. A little confusion there again. The Wolverines recover. Parker in the middle. And but no one there to get it back. Parker, excellent reception. And there's a hole. And she can stick it in there. We see that there again. 21-21. Patel serving. High game. Burns steps up. Near side. Bellevue. Davis comes up with it. Fordyce backpedaling. A tough shot. Hallberg for the Bellevue. Back to the back row. Here's Parker charging in. And a long rally. Federer. No look shot back over. Parker knew where she wanted to go. Had it, but couldn't quite put it over the net. And the lead goes back to the Wolverines. Last time Interlake led, it was 15-14. Bellevue has led ever since. And as the serve sails out, we are tied at 22 apiece. Interlake looking to snatch that lead right here at the end of game 4. Diamond serving. Hallberg steps up. The shot goes around the net from Patel and falls on the Interlake side. So Interlake has been able to tie the game up. Tied it up at 21 apiece. They tied it up at 22 apiece. Bellevue grabbing that lead right back. 23-22. The official checking right in front of us at the scorer's table to see how many timeouts are left. Bellevue asking they have one. They just need 2 more points to win it here tonight. 23-22. Up 2 games to 1. Castro in the middle. Here's Patel. To Fordyce. Going off the net. Heading back. They're going to have to get it over. They're only with enough on it right there at the middle to take care of it is Castro. Sometimes when things look scrambled, it creates an opportunity. And that appeared to be the case there. Game points and match point for the Wolverines. 24-22 here in game 4. Bellevue up 2 games to 1. Bellevue winning game 1, 25-23. Game 2, 25-14. And Interlake winning game 3, 27-25. Chris King here with you tonight. Thank you again for joining us at Bellevue High School. KingCo 3A volleyball matchup. The winner of this game will move to 500 in the KingCo Conference. Teams 4 and 5 coming in tonight. Serving for the Wolverines. Now it's Dominguez. The point goes to Interlake. Still game point here for Bellevue. Serving Kendall Davis, 24-23. And the serve thrown off by the whistle. So the whistle being blown, Kendall Davis is confused. So looks like it will be for lack of a better term, a mulligan here on the serve. And Kendall Davis will get it again. And now a timeout is called by Bellevue. And so the timeout cannot be granted here. So a rather confusing what could be the end. Interlake hopes it's not. 24-23. Bellevue trying to close it out. Interlake trying to battle it back. And that will do it. A kill from Ella Young. The final score in game number 4, 25-23. And the Wolverines win it 3 games to 1. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap it up here from Bellevue High School as the Wolverines top the Interlake Saints tonight 3 games to 1. You're watching the Bellevue Wolverines and the Interlake Saints on PlayOnSports.com. Welcome back to Bellevue High School. 3-1. Bellevue defeating Interlake. So the first meeting between these two squads this year. Interlake defeated Bellevue 3 games to nothing. And Bellevue coming back and evening up the season series with a 3-1 victory tonight. In game 1, the Wolverines took it 25-23. The most convincing game of the night was game number 2. The Wolverines a 25-14 advantage in that one. Interlake took their one and only game, 27-25 in game number 3, and Bellevue just barely able to hang on in game number 4, 25-23, the final score. So with the victory, the Wolverines now 5-8 overall on the year, and 5-5 in KingCo conference play. Interlake, on the other hand, moves to 4-6 in the KingCo conference, and they move to 500 overall. They are 6-6. Next up for Interlake, they will have a tough task as they take on Mount Si, the number 3 team in the state. That will be coming up in just 3 days from now. And Bellevue, on the other hand, will be taking on, in their next game, they'll be playing Mount Si as well the day right after that. So tough matchups await both these squads. But for tonight's Bellevue, that's a victory to enjoy as they defeat Interlake 3-1. Well, for our entire Play On Sports crew here at Bellevue High School, I'm Chris King. Thanks for joining us tonight. Again, the final score, the Wolverines defeat the Interlake Saints 3-1. Thanks for watching.